Well, I got to see my doctor today, and we went over my blood test results, and I talked with him about what I've been going through in my head, and my state lately. I've also got a headache, so if you're wondering why I sound like I'm not comfortable, it's because I've got a headache. Probably because it was a very stressful day. But now I've got a new drug I'm on. It's called citalopram, which is a new antidepressant that we're going to try. Those cute little tiny pills. So basically it's another antidepressant with a much longer induction period that's for long-term treatment of depression. The mirtazapine, while exceedingly effective and very quickly effective, it's not meant for long-term use. It's only meant for acute depression, but I have chronic depression, apparently, we're starting to realize. And we're also starting to come to the conclusion, both my doctor and I, because I talked with him about my theories on the matter. A lot of doctors don't appreciate when you, what's the word I'm looking for? Self-diagnose. A lot of doctors don't like it when you do that, and I apologize to him for saying, I have some theories and thoughts that I wanted to throw your way, but I know that doctors get peeved when patients self-diagnose. But he was not only patient, he was also supportive of listening to my thoughts on the matter, and respected them, and we had a very good educational and informational conversation where he gave all of my concerns a very very understanding and open ear. Like, he didn't just blow me off, he actually listened to what I had to say and considered it, and that actually made me feel pretty good, because he actually agreed with some of the thoughts that I was having. So basically, we're coming to the conclusion that the depression I'm experiencing is not, it's not the only thing that's wrong. Basically, it is a symptom of a more complicated problem. So we're going to start treating the depression and treating the anxiety, trying to figure out if we can get that stuff under control, and then we'll start exploring. Once we have me a little bit more stable, we'll start figuring out where to go from there. But it seems that he agrees with me that I'm a lot more broken than I initially thought, which wasn't exactly what I wanted to hear, but it's also kind of gratifying. Gratifying isn't really the right word. Comforting, perhaps? I don't know the word I'm looking for, but it's nice to know that he agrees with me that, the problem is probably a lot more complex than we initially thought. So we're proceeding. There's also an enigma. I had to get some more blood drawn, because my blood is weird. And my blood is weird because my hemoglobin, which is the oxygen carrier of the blood, is mildly elevated, and that's a hereditary thing. I've always known that the hemoglobin would be elevated. There's also the hematocrit, which is the, if I recall correctly, is the percentage of red blood solids to everything else in your body. If your hematocrit is high, it means that your body is either producing too many red blood cells or not enough of the rest of what you need. So my hematocrit is also elevated. Again, that's genetic. It's been that way my entire life. So these two readings are elevated. But my iron is actually deficient. I'm iron deficient, but I have too much red blood. And we're doing some further tests, some more blood tests to try to iron out what might be going on. But basically, I have lots of red blood cells and lots of hemoglobin, but my red blood cells are, in his words, tiny. they're much reduced in size, which he says the smaller blood cells may be an indication, or not an indication. Yeah, I guess indication is the right word. Basically, the small blood cells might be why I'm tired all the time. I mean, the depression certainly isn't helping, but I've always struggled with being tired. And unfortunately, I don't have any blood test history, from before everything that I could go back. I don't know, maybe I could contact Kaiser Permanente, see if they have any of my records still. But anyway, so he says that the smaller blood cells is possibly an indicator, a reason why I'm tired and don't seem to actually recharge when I sleep. And we don't know why. He says, one of the things he asked me was, do you drink and smoke or anything like that? And I said, no, not really. I mean, I use cannabis a little bit to sleep, but he already knew that. And the last time I had a drink was when I was at the local pub, or not the local pub, we've got a couple of local pubs, but there's one specifically called the Barkerville Brewing Company here in town, and it's actually a local brewery, like they make the beer here, and they make some really fantastic stuff. But the last alcoholic drink I had was there, and that was a couple of weeks ago. So he asked me that, and I said, well, is my liver being weird again? And he said, well, I didn't test your liver. Have you had liver things in the past? And I said, I mean, yeah, I had some peculiar liver readings a couple of years back. And he said, oh, okay, well, we'll order you up some liver tests too, along with the other tests I want, and we'll have a look at it. But he said that alcohol and tobacco use can cause reduced red blood cells size, but not quite to the degree that I'm experiencing. So more questions were raised by the appointment than were answered, but I've got a little bit of homework to do. I've got the new medicine I have to take, and we'll see where things go from here. I am absolutely exhausted. I barely did anything today, but just the circumstances and the emotional difficulties that I went through today, I'm very, very tired. So that's probably why I have a headache too. Just it's been a rough day psychologically, but at least I've taken a very important first step in getting better again. Those of you who've watched my main channel will know that I had a rough spot, last year as well, where I stopped posting and posting videos for a while just because I didn't have any motivation or anything. And I eventually went to the doctor and said, my brain is broken, I need help, and they put me on the mirtazapine, thinking that it was just an acute, which means a temporary bout of depression. So we put me on that. I gained 25 pounds. That was really bad. And then, I was only supposed to be on it for a couple of months. I ended up taking it for about 9 months, I think. And then I weaned myself off of it. And I was fine for a while, and then just... And if anything, when I hit bottom after stopping the mirtazapine, I think I actually ended up lower than I was before. But yeah, so I covered some of that stuff with him, and we had a really good back and forth about the symptoms I was experiencing and what to do, and learning procedures, or not learning procedures, but learning about stuff. It was a really good conversation. It was rough. There were points where I was talking about stuff that I really didn't want to talk about there, and I almost fell apart a couple of times, which is not me. I don't do that. So yeah, I'm not okay. We'll just get that out of the gate there. I'm not okay. I'm not a healthy person. Um, but hopefully, after today, I'll be setting foot on the path to at least, trying to become functional, if not at least, if not cured, but functional would be nice. So, what else? Followed up with the police on that guy's threat. Um, the police officer said we don't have anybody local with that name that has a police record, so it's probably just somebody with more bravado than brains. And I asked him a very candid question. My boyfriend yelled at me for saying it, but I was like, if this guy actually does confront me in real life and, tries to assault me, and I have to defend myself, how badly am I allowed to hurt him? And that actually got a pretty good chuckle out of the constable, and he educated me a little bit as to, what Canadian laws say about self-defense and such, because in the States, if a guy takes the swing at me, I can put him in the hospital with no repercussions. And that's what I would have done until I had the talk with the constable, and the constable's like, yeah, if he throws a punch at you and you sweep it aside, and he doesn't continue coming for you, then you have to stop right there. But if he keeps coming from you, you can escalate until he stops. Which is kind of annoying, in my training and in the past, if somebody has tried to physically assault me, I have responded with overwhelming force, which I think is a much better way of doing it, but Canadian law doesn't allow me to do it that way, so I'm going to have to be careful and not break bones and limbs. What else do I have to say about today? When I went to pick up my meds, I saw an interesting thing in the cereal aisle of the drugstore. We have a place here called Shoppers Drug Mart, and they do the standard pharmacy and soap and stuff like that you would expect at a drugstore. But they've also got kind of a little grocery section, and in this grocery section, they had chocolate peanut butter Cheerios, and I am so excited to try them tomorrow. Because a while back they did chocolate Cheerios and they were really good, and now the thing that blew me away about the chocolate Cheerios was that they weren't excessively sweet. They were just very. Oh, what did I do here? That's weird. Just very. That's a lot more prominent on camera than it is on my hand. That is really weird. Anyway, losing track of the conversation here. They did the chocolate Cheerios and they weren't overly sweet, which is what I normally expect from the sweet cereal. So they were really quite good, and now they've got the chocolate peanut butter Cheerios. So pardon me. Yawn. So I'm looking forward to trying those tomorrow. That's all I have to say today. So I'm tired. I want to go to bed. I've been yakking at you guys for 15 or 14 minutes, so I'm gonna wrap it up and say see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.